Welcome to the Doctor and the Medium podcast. Join us at the intersection of brain science, body wisdom, and the mystical unknown. Hosted by myself, Liz, a doctor of health psychology, an energy healer and compassion coach, and Andy, a medium, coach, and intuitive healer. The podcast explores the receptive consciousness framework with zero pretense, a sprinkling of laughter, and a lot of heart.
We're looking at consciousness as something we receive rather than something we just generate. And more importantly, how that changes everything. From tackling chronic stress and paralyzing overwhelm to navigating the complex mind-body disease problem. We share practical, grounded techniques to help you shift your state, soothe your nervous system, and heal from the inside out. Let's talk about how mind, body, and spirit actually connect. Okay, so we've got a plan. We're not afraid to use it. Our plan is that we've been thinking about stuff, haven't we? And we want to share an exciting project. We're giving you a little teaser to an exciting project for the near future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nearish future. So we're going to be doing 6 podcast episodes, all connected to consciousness. And maybe you're wondering why. Why is this crazy man and this psychologist, why do they want to talk about consciousness? Well, our whole life is governed by it, isn't it? It's an intrinsic part of our human existence. Maybe we don't think of it as consciousness, but it is. So episode 1, consciousness. What is consciousness really? So what we want to do is to have a chat about it and have a chat about why it's important and what we're offering. And hopefully by the end of this episode, little cogs within your mind are starting to whir and they're starting to think, this guy might be onto something and this lady might be onto something. So, Liz, have you ever had a situation whereby more than just yourself is experiencing a situation, maybe a stressful situation or one that's challenging, and maybe yourself or another person has reacted very differently? So 2 people may be having very different reactions to the same scenario. So what does that mean? Why does it happen? And why can the capacity to think clearly, to make good decisions, and to stay grounded, why can that change so much if 2 people are experiencing the same situation?
Yeah, so we could talk about lots of things in terms of genetics and environment, and I think what we want to talk about is that consciousness, that conscious awareness. And I was saying this to you earlier in terms of there's this concept that we are
well, Pillow's becoming very conscious of something.
He is.
Very conscious. Well, there we go. So Pillow, the wonderful, beautiful Pillow, has become conscious of something. And he's probably just been turfed out of the room. So, like we were saying, Pillow's become conscious. But let's go back to the point in hand.
So if we think about our awareness as this container. So for those that can't see, I'm holding up a pint glass.
Okay.
And throughout our lives, everything that happens is contained in our awareness, the pint glass.
Okay.
So we can imagine that, all the things people have said or done, or the experiences, they all, fill up the glass. Now, if I haven't become aware of how all these things influence the way I view the world, the lens through which I look at the world,
Yeah.
and if I haven't become aware of how reactive I can be in certain situations because of this contents,
Okay.
then what's going to happen is, something could get said to me, or might experience something, and it's like the contents just starts to spill out really quickly.
Okay.
If we become really aware of everything that has happened to us and how it's impacted us and how it changes the lens through which we look at life or
Yeah.
experience relationships,
Yeah.
then it grows that container of awareness. So all the contents is always going to stay the same, but the container is going to grow. The awareness grows. The conscious awareness grows. So then when someone says something or something happens that's challenging, instead of that immediate spill and reactivity, it's like it moves, but it doesn't spill out because it can be held by that conscious awareness in a bigger way.
So if I understand you correctly, are you saying that the more you become conscious of emotions, thoughts, feelings, actions, and reactions, the bigger the container gets? Is it that, or is it something different?
Yeah, absolutely. So the container, the way we hold all of that content grows and becomes stronger and more able to hold everything that's happened because we're consciously aware. So we're choosing, we're pausing, we're noticing with interest instead of just being reactive to everything that happens.
So are we the container?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
our conscious awareness is. Yeah.
Okay. So we've mentioned conscious or consciousness. I guess really, without getting too mystical, we need to really define what it is.
Mm.
So the definition that I have is consciousness is the continuous everyday human process of receiving, interpreting, and responding to information. So you are a transmitter and a receiver, aren't you? You know, this is kind
Absolutely.
of what you are. And that lens metaphor that you've used is, so what we've got is, if this is the right, thing to say, if we're constantly taking in information or consciousness or whatever from the environment and just life as we live it, but also the things that we think about, what is going to decide whether we react good or badly to it?
It is our awareness of how we've been influenced to see things in
So
certain ways.
is it like cultural? So if someone said to you, right, every time someone says something negative, Liz, you need to shout at them.
Mm.
So is it like you become conscious only to the degree that you've been taught?
Yeah, unless you make that choice to go beyond it. That that's why it can be so difficult, because we'll get brought up in a certain family or a certain culture, or we get told you're this or you're that. So we become limited by all of that, and we perceive that's it. That's how we look at things. And that's why particularly, Buddhist philosophy and mindfulness teaches about the power of pause and
Okay.
the idea that we're becoming the observer. So then we choose, and that's just growing your conscious awareness all the time. Oh, it's like, oh, there, I noticed that, and I noticed that's happening because that's what I was told over and over again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So I guess maybe we should, explain to the listeners or the viewers, why we're so interested in consciousness.
Hmm.
And I want to take you back a little way in time. Now, in my job, I have a job whereby I'm outside a lot, and it gives me a lot of time to probably enter something akin to a meditative state, a relaxed, a peaceful state, because I'm in nature, and sometimes it's a really beautiful day, and you get in that zone. Okay. Now, when I'm in that zone, as you do, sometimes I am pondering the questions and the meaning of this, the meaning of that, and why stuff happens. And I noticed over time that there was occasions whereby I just seemed to have received this answer to the questions or to the conundrums or whatever it was, and it could be anything. And I was thinking, well, why do I suddenly just seem to know the answer? Where does it come from, and what has happened? I mean, I don't just like access like unlimited information, or do I? So what's happening? And so then I put that question to working as a medium and as an intuitive. I put that question to the universe, the consciousness around me, and I say, why does that happen? And I quite clearly got the answer back. We, or you, as in me, you are transmitters and receivers. And I was like, what? Huh? What's going on? What do you mean we're sort of transmitters and receivers? So there's this thought to thought conversation going on. And I'm saying, well, what is this? What are you talking about? And to the best of my understanding, they're basically saying that as we experience life, we are receiving information, thoughts, feelings, emotions, insight, clarity, confusion, all of that thing. We're receiving all of it. And we're also transmitting it. So as a medium or as an intuitive, we can transmit and we can radiate information, feelings, thoughts, emotions from ourselves to another person. That's kind of how intuition works, and that's how aspects of mediumship work. But this isn't about being a medium. Okay, this mediumship is kind of how I found this perspective. It's not the purpose of it. Okay, so I need to make that very clear. Now, so then I'm thinking, well, when I'm working as a medium, why do some of my readings absolutely fly? And I would say, Liz, I had the best reading ever. And then the next day I could say, Liz, I have had an absolute horror show. And I'm like, why is this? Because my brain hasn't changed. My understanding hasn't changed. So what has changed? Why is the information getting no's instead of yeses? What changed between Monday and Tuesday? And that gets you on this, or it gets me on this, I wonder. And I came to this kind of understanding, and that's what it is. An understanding, I'm thinking, well, something has changed, and that must be me. It must be my ability to perceive the information, the clarity, the questions that I'm asking or not asking. And so then we look at interference. What is the interference that causes me to have a bad reading? Maybe it's the preparation. Maybe I ran straight in off the street, went upstairs, logged on, started to try to work. I wasn't in the right receptive state of mind. Therefore, the information was muddled or non-existent. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was overly emotional. Maybe I was putting my thoughts, my bias into the information. So in essence, it's like on Monday, I had a perfectly clear signal tuning into Radio 1. And on the Tuesday, I lost the signal. I scrambled it. I turned the dial and lost where it was. So therefore, we didn't get a clear signal. Now, from a psychologist's point of view, what was going on there with me? Why did I do that? Is this a normal thing or unique to me? I hope it's not unique to me.
Well, I don't know from psychology per se, but I think, from my understanding, it is that idea that your lens, your ability to perceive, is disrupted. So your nervous system is perhaps not at ease.
Okay.
And your mind is not calm, and you're not on that sort of flow or frequency of compassion and gentleness, and perhaps the oxytocin isn't flowing, because all of those things help us to be more receptive to perceive. And so I suppose really we're talking about the physiology and the psychological state, whereas when you are at ease and perhaps you've had time to calm the nervous system and bring the mind into that nice peaceful place, and maybe you've had a really good day, so you're feeling confident in yourself, then it provides the perfect environment to perceive.
So it's really, if I'm in a, let's use like monks as an example. So if I'm in a very peaceful, calm, relaxed and gentle state, I'm in a very zen-like state. Yeah. So is that going to make my ability to perceive the information that's around me easier because I'm in that gentle, calm, receptive state? Or is it a question of, do I need to concentrate harder? Do I need to really try and focus? Or is it about being very much like, I wonder what information is there, rather than, where's the information? Find the information. Give me information.
Yeah. We're so much more receptive when we're not searching, aren't we?
It struck me. Here's you're going to laugh about this. Here's one of the times whereby I wasn't trying and it was firing on all cylinders. Do you remember when we were just chatting after a Monday mediumship session and you said, can you just see if there's anyone there for me? All right. And I started to perceive this guy and you said, yeah, I think I might know, who you have. And I remember saying to the spirit communicator, give me something that Liz will know that means she knows this really is you. All right. And so I'm sitting there sending prayers, doing rosaries, all sorts of stuff. But I just start to perceive, for no particular reason, a naked cat. All right. And I'll just say that again. I start to perceive a naked cat. Now, at this point, I hadn't said anything to you. I just sat there and I was like, okay. So I'm seeing a cat with no fur as the thing that I am going to give this lady who's a psychologist. I'm going to say that to her and say, oh, do you understand why I'm seeing the naked cat? And tell the ladies and gents, what happened when I said that to you?
Yeah, well, one of my friends, that was part of a joke we had between us that we'd never really mentioned to anyone else, other than the fact it was just a joke that we had. So it was one of the main things that we joked about, was this thing around the naked cat from Austin Powers.
It was like Mr. Bigglesworth. Is it Mr. Bigglesworth?
Yeah.
All right. So for any of you that have ever seen one of the Austin Powers films, and he's got Mr. Bigglesworth, there is this hairless cat. All right. Yeah. That's what I saw. I saw this image. Now, the point is, I wasn't searching for the information. I just said out loud, or no, I think it was in my head, give me something that, Liz is going to know. And I just had to trust it. All right. So I was working as a medium then. But remember, this isn't about mediumship. This is about perception and awareness, and why sometimes it's working really well. And it's like we're in a flow state. I know athletes talk about that, don't they? Sometimes they get in a flow state where it seems like time is moving differently. So what I realized is, and, we've had lots of conversations, Liz, and obviously you understand this with, great depth and clarity too, is that this receptive state is something that we can work on.
Absolutely.
It isn't something that is fixed, and we're always going to be like muddled or confused or, hyper aware. It is something that changes. It gets worse, it gets better, but there are things that we can do about it. Now, so I call this the receptive consciousness framework. And the reason that it's receptive consciousness is because it is about perceiving. Consciousness, because we are working with awareness and consciousness. The framework is that we have developed a whole way of working through all of the things that can hold us back, all of the things that can be enhanced, all of the awareness that we need to have to get ourselves into a state of mind that allows us to work with greater clarity, that works with insight, that is able to cope with difficult situations without kind of falling apart. So what we realized and what we want to share with you guys is that this isn't about changing who you are or forcing you to be positive about the world. It is a structured model for understanding the conditions that allow you to access that greater clarity. That's what it is. And I think what we need to say is, and then I want you to kind of, come in with this, Liz, and sort of share your thoughts if you would, is this is about having discernment, all right? Highlighting your ability to pause, to separate the raw information that you're getting and your previously automatic interpretation of it, and become more focused, become more aware, become more conscious of what is actually happening, so that we and you can experience your life in a way that brings you greater clarity, greater understanding. And we don't have those times where we feel emotionally overwhelmed. So that's kind of my take on it. But what do you, as a psychologist, but also as an intuitive in your own right, what do you see as the benefit, Liz?
I think as you grow that awareness, so you're making observations all the time of, I'm feeling reactive about that because of, this that happened, or I'm observing, that I want to have, this going forward because of. And as you grow in your conscious awareness of what's in your container and how that influences the way you view things, the way you run your life, what that does is then it allows a separation as well between what is your known experience and then what you are perceiving beyond your known experience.
Okay.
So that idea of being receptive to, consciousness beyond our own immediate experience becomes a lot clearer, because you know yourself and you know your contents of what's in the container.
Yeah.
So then you're able to decipher, well, this is information that I'm becoming consciously aware of beyond my own immediate knowing from what I've developed. And I think this is what becomes so wonderful in a way, is because you're becoming you're just becoming a more aware person. You're able to perceive the difference. And it starts to tap into the idea of mediumship and psychic ability, and, picking up on information and being confident, in terms of it being information that just isn't of our making.
So it kind of, I mean, just obviously you've mentioned, the word mediumship. in what you just spoke about. And I think as I experienced that awareness of what's actually happening, I could see how the information appears to be external to the medium. It seems to be that I start to be in a receptive state, and I start to be that receiver, and maybe my ability to receive information and to perceive it is greater because I get into this zone, if we want to call it that, or I get into that flow state. But then we're going to look at the things over the next 5 episodes that, that affect that, and interference is going to be the next episode. So I kind of, as we go along, we'll share more about it. But we want to talk about interference, what you can do to have a positive effect on your experience. And then, this applies to so many aspects of life, whether you're coaching someone or you're being coached to live in a more positive way, or you're living, with greater insight and clarity. I think, when we understand what can distract us, then I think we then have tools to know how we can move forward. Because at the end of the day, consciousness is intrinsic to everyone. It is a state of being that you can learn to do something about. You can calibrate it, you can work on it, you can do whatever to it. But when you change the condition of yourself as the receiver, everything changes. So what I think we need for the listeners or the viewers to do is to go to our website, where we can share information about when we're going to be doing maybe more podcast episodes, and what we're going to talk about. And if you want to learn more, then if you come to our website, so that is a sanctuary for the soul.co.uk, a sanctuary for the soul.co.uk. Okay, and then you can also email us, and that's a sanctuary for the soul 777 at gmail.com. So that's a sanctuary for the soul 777 at gmail.com. Liz, last thoughts?
No, looking forward to talking about the next stage, really.
Excellent. Look, guys, thank you so much for watching. We're really, really excited to start to announce what we're doing with this. It's going to be fabulous. We know that it's going to make a massive difference to people, and we're really passionate about this. So please do consider subscribing to our website, so you can keep in contact with us, and would love to share the exciting plans that we have. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.